All right. I saw Spider-Man Brand New Day. I'm going to talk for a few minutes about my general thoughts, no spoilers, and then we'll get into some of the storylines and spoilers after that. So I loved it. I thought it was awesome. And this is coming from somebody who hasn't really cared for Spider-Man movies in general. For one, he's just not one of my favorite characters. I mean, he's fine. Like, I don't have any issues with him. I just don't find him in general as compelling. I didn't care for Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man. I know a lot of people loved him in his movies. For me, Peter Parker needs to be two things. He needs to be, smart and nerdy and very intellectually capable. And also he needs to have some charm and some charisma and some levity and some humor to him. Tobey Maguire had the former. He didn't have the latter. Andrew Garfield I actually liked more as Peter Parker than Tobey Maguire by a lot. Now the movies were way worse, but I actually felt like he had a pretty good balance of both. Then you have Tom Holland, who they kind of did the opposite that they did with Tobey Maguire. They played him out to be an idiot, and he was likable and he was charming, but he always felt like an idiot to me. I just never believed that he was as intelligent as he's supposed to be. Somebody who's capable of creating and designing mechanical web shooters and everything else that he's supposed to be able to do. But they righted a lot of those wrongs in this movie. You actually get to see him be intelligent, and it was pretty believable. I mean, he has a conversation with Bruce where, and this is in the trailers, but they're talking about DNA, and Bruce kind of looks at him like, "You're pretty smart. Who are you? You're not one of my students." So I thought they did a lot more justice to Peter Parker in this movie than they have in the past. I always liked Tom Holland as a casting. I just didn't feel like they were writing it right. And they did way better at this. So I loved it. I loved the emotion that Tom Holland brought to this movie. There's a lot of emotional beats throughout the entire movie in a couple different ways. The main one being the struggle that he feels from the fallout of No Way Home. Because he really doesn't have anybody now, and you get to see him grapple with that throughout the movie, and I love that they didn't shy away from that, and it's actually a really big important part to this movie and to his arc as a character in this movie. He did a great job of portraying that emotion. I've never really felt like Tom Holland was most rangeful actor, but you definitely get to see some range in him in this movie. You get to see him be funny, you get to see him be emotional, you get to see him be dark at times. So yeah, I thought he crushed it. I thought the writing for his character was way better. The visuals were insane. People are going to be talking about this. They were so cool. You're bouncing from first person to third person. The shots, the fight sequences were amazing. If they continue with his Spider-Man, I hope they bring this level of energy to it, because it's just, now this is the standard. This is what it's got to be for Spider-Man, for something like that character. This is just what it's got to be. All right, moving into spoiler territory. So the big thing everyone's going to be talking about is Sadie Sink as Jean Grey. Unless you're living on a rock, you already knew that was the case. That got leaked a while ago. Then it got reconfirmed by that guy on the red carpet. Nevertheless, actually, in my theater, there were people when it showed, her name, on the printout, Jean Grey. There are people who gasped, "Oh my gosh, where have you been? We knew this was happening." But anyways, I thought Sadie Sink did a great job as Jean Grey. I think she fit the character. Now, I'm not somebody I've never been as big into X-Men. I mean, I like it. I think it's cool. There's a lot of really cool, compelling storylines. I haven't, at least to this point, haven't really gotten as invested in it. So I don't care as much about how they portray certain characters, not in the way that I do with Frank Castle, which we'll get into, or Batman, or Daredevil, or some of these other characters that I'm a lot more invested in. But with that being said, I thought she did great as Jean Grey. I do feel like they did her a little dirty though. Look, you can have good characters and heroes do bad things and dark things under the right settings and the right motivation. And she has those in this movie, which is her sister has been taken. But if you're going to have her do bad things to try to get her sister back, they have to be in the spirit of that, of that objective, of that mission. And there's sometimes where she deviates from that. Like when she possesses the guy, when she's talking to Peter, and then she throws him in front of a car or walks in front of the car. You can't really come back from that, because that's not in the spirit of like, oh, I'm doing dark things to get my sister back, to find her. Yeah, I'm going too far, but it's to find her. Like that wasn't necessary, or that didn't help her find her sister at all. So I don't think they should have done that. Even with the stuff with MJ, she threw her off the roof, and yeah, she probably knew, Peter would get her, but still, the way she was toying with his emotions and everything, I don't know. I just thought they took her too far in some instances, because then it makes it hard in the future to see her as good and virtuous and as a hero. But with that being said, I thought she had great chemistry with Tom Holland, especially towards the end. That whole scene, really emotional, really heavy. They played well off of each other, and I'm excited to see what they do for her in the future. I do think it was a good casting. So Frank Castle, as I said, big Frank Castle fan, one of my all-time favorite characters in general, comic or non-comic. I was not happy when I found out he's going to be in this movie. This is like the worst movie to put him in, because it's going to be so PG and kid friendly and family friendly. Frank just doesn't work in settings like that. I mean, he needs to be rated R. It needs to be gory and violent and dark, and that's where he thrives. So I was not happy. I was like, they're going to mess it up. It doesn't work. I was wrong. For the most part. I was wrong. I actually thought they surprisingly made it work really, really well. They poke fun at him a bit, and it gets close to the line of being too far, where they're where you start to go into the territory of disrespecting a character, but they don't. I don't think, at least in my opinion, I don't think they quite got that far where it's like, okay, now you're just actually making fun of the character rather than just poking fun at him a little bit. So I do felt like they stayed on the right side of that. I found myself laughing when they were poking fun at him. At the very end, when he tears up, and look, Jon Bernthal's Punisher has always been an emotional character. Much more so in the comics than in the comics, I think, which is fine. And it works, because they never do it at the expense of him also being dark and brutal and vicious, right? They don't take away from that and make him emotional. They just add in this extra emotional layer, which I'm totally fine with. I know some people aren't. Personally, I'm totally fine with it. So he gets a little teary-eyed when he's talking with Peter at the end, and he makes fun of him for a bit for it. Looking back on it, it makes sense that this would work. And I didn't see it before, but after seeing it, I understand. Because if you look at Punisher season 2, that whole season was essentially just about him uncovering some of those repressed fatherly feelings that were that are inside of him, those coming to the surface, so he goes from thinking that Amy's just this young annoying kid to actually genuinely caring for her and being protective over her. Same thing happens in this movie. Obviously, not to the same extent because it's a whole season where he's the main character versus, you know, a handful of scenes and he's not the main character. But you get to see him kind of go from being like, this kid's dumb and annoying, I'm Frank Castle, you know, to, hey, I actually care about this kid. So I thought that was awesome. I thought it worked surprisingly well. Hulk didn't need to be in this. I don't know. I thought I would really enjoy the fight scene. It was fine, but I don't know. It just wasn't as head to head as I wanted. It was over pretty quick, and that's one of the sequences I think could have been. I don't know. For me, it just left a lot feeling desired for me. And I've never really been a fan of Mark Ruffalo's portrayal of Bruce Banner in general. So I just didn't think he needed to be in the movie. Now, there's two kind of points of growth and journey that Peter is going throughout this movie. There's him dealing with the loss of his friends and dealing with being alone, and also him dealing with the increase in, you know, the spider DNA. What I really liked with the spider DNA arc is essentially what they were saying with this arc is that he needs to integrate the shadow, which is, you know, psychology counseling term, where being whole, good and bad, is better than repressing the bad and just trying to be only good, because then you don't have control over the bad and it comes up, and you see that in the movie, and it comes up in ways you can't control. When you integrate the bad with your consciousness, then you can control it. You have awareness over it. You can use it to your advantage even. And so you see that in this movie, and I thought that was a really, really awesome story arc for him. And then you see him grappling with, you know, with the repercussions of his actions from the first movie. The way they handled those, I thought were awesome. I mean, this movie had me feeling emotional, not overly emotional, but like it had me feeling something, which I like. I need that in a 2.5 hour movie. So all in all, yeah, I thought this was awesome. This is the first time I've actually really enjoyed a Spider-Man movie on its own merits. Even No Way Home, I thought it was cool in like a Deadpool and Wolverine way, just a nostalgia thing or whatever, you know, seeing these characters interact from different generations, but didn't really think it stood on its own. So I actually want to go see this movie, and I'm going to, and I'm actually excited to see what they do in the future, you know, for future movies with Tom Holland, if they do. So yeah, thought it was awesome. Please do your good deed for the day. Give me a like and subscribe if you want, or if it's absolute garbage and you want to tell me how to be better, then I appreciate that too. As long as you're nice about it. You know, I'm new and I want to try to get better and make improvements where I can. So yeah, thank you for watching and listening if you've gotten this far, and hope you guys enjoyed the movie as well. Have a good one.